Maintaining transportation infrastructure is a problem nationwide. In the 1980s, the state turned over 200 miles of roads to Alachua County without providing adequate funding to maintain them, and that was the start of the county's backlog issues. In counties across Florida, general fund dollars are strained to cover mandated services such as law enforcement, jails, fire rescue, and social services, to name a few. The tool that the state gives counties to pay for the massive costs of road projects is the infrastructure sales tax that voters must approve. Many Florida counties have successfully passed the tax. Voters in Alachua County had voted no 3 times on transportation ballot initiatives. In 2022, our current county commissioners had the courage to expand the very successful Wild Spaces Public Places program into an omnibus ballot initiative that included funding for road improvements, land conservation, parks and recreation, and affordable housing. The voters passed the surtax in November of 2022. To talk about how the county plans on using new revenues to tackle our road issues, I'm welcoming Public Works Director Ramon Gavarrete to Alachua County Talks. Since May 31, 2016, Ramon has served as the Public Works Director and County Engineer for Alachua County. Before coming to the county, he was County Engineer and Solid Waste Director for Highlands County, Florida. Ramon also worked at the Florida Department of Transportation and the California Department of Transportation. His responsibilities include planning and administration of capital projects relating to transportation and building infrastructure, road and bridge maintenance, transportation improvement programs, development review, emergency management, planning and coordinating technical engineering services for transportation and stormwater management, fleet management, real property, and warehouse operations. Ramon holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Florida International University and is a licensed professional engineer in Florida. Ramon is past president and member of the National Association of County Engineers, past president and member of the Florida Association of County Engineers and Road Superintendents, and a member of the National Association of Counties Transportation Steering Committee. Ramon has been married to his wife Indira for over 30 years, and they have 2 children, Natasha and Elijah. Welcome, Ramon.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, this is exciting. You have been telling us what we need for a few years here on the job. Let's start by talking about the funding for roads projects and those kinds of big capital projects, kind of where it was and where it is now. So how has the funding worked prior to the infrastructure surtax?
Well, prior to the November vote for the infrastructure surtax, the county was allocating approximately $4 million a year from general fund towards road improvements. Then right prior to the vote, the board decided to add an additional $4 million out of general fund. General fund is property taxes, right, by the way.
So, and that's unusual, isn't it?
And that's very unusual. Yeah. Not every agency actually does that.
Right.
But this board was allocating then $8 million a year, approximately, towards road transportation at that time. Then came the surtax, and right before the vote, also about a couple of months prior to the vote, the board decided that 70% of the second half of the penny is going to go to road improvements also.
Right.
And that's estimated at around $12 million a year coming towards transportation road improvements.
So you went from 3.6 million to 7.6 million and then another 12 something, so almost $20 million.
Correct.
Overnight almost.
Yeah, basically overnight after the vote of November of 2022. In addition to that, there is some gas tax that also goes into transportation trust fund and into capital programs. So in the current program that the board did adopt in May of 2023 does include approximately, I want to say between $30 and $35 million of gas tax. Okay. That also is going to go into this program now.
Now, gas tax covers a lot of different things, right? It's not all about road maintenance.
Yeah, gas tax actually also includes the operational portions of public works.
Right.
All the road maintenance crews that you see out there on the road, fixing potholes and drainage and other items are all also paid from the gas tax.
So you have put out some great tools that we've been pushing out on social media and on the homepage of our website. You can actually go to an interactive map where you can look at the projects that will happen over the 10-year period of the Wild Spaces, Public Places surtax. But can you talk to us a little bit about the process of coming up with a pavement management program? How do you pick the projects that will be done with this money?
Well, the first step was actually making everybody aware of the problem that we had.
Right.
And that was done back in 2021 when the Board of County Commissioners heard representation. And at that time, the item was, we need $45 million a year to fix the roads.
Simple.
Simple. That was it. Very simple. But then the board then also decided, we're going to go do into what's called Pavement Management Program now,
Right.
which is not just a straight go remove an inch of asphalt, put an inch of asphalt back.
Right.
It's more than that. So the plan that the board did approve does include the option of pavement management, which is you're going to do some treatments in between going from good asphalt to bad. You're going to be doing some treatments to make the life of the asphalt go longer.
Right.
So that's what pavement management is. It's just like the roof in your house if you have shingles.
Right.
If you're going to go and just clean your shingles, wash them and make sure that the sap of the trees doesn't stay there. That's what we call basically rejuvenation. So
yeah.
that's the process, and then replacing the shingles, you mill and resurface, and then if you have real problems, then you start getting underneath your asphalt and stuff like that. So those are the steps for the projects. Now, how do we get to the program? The board, we did contract with a consultant that helped us, that guided us through this huge software package, and there's some parameters that you have to put in, and the board did decide on some of those parameters. But the main parameters, obviously, is traffic volumes.
Right.
The condition of the roadways. It's like a report card on the roadways.
Right.
Unfortunately for Alachua County, the condition of the roadways was average in 2021 of approximately 60.
60 out of 100.
60 out of 100.
Yeah.
And the projections were that by 2035-ish, we were going to be almost at around 20.
Going in the wrong direction.
Going in the wrong direction, going
Yeah.
backwards, obviously.
Yeah.
So the board decided, okay, we need to stop that. So we went into this new program, and traffic volumes, pavement conditions. One of the items that the board was very keen and insisted in doing was actually putting areas of inequities into the program.
Right.
So we gave an additional weight to the program. If your road, whether it was a collector road or a residential road, was in an area of inequity, they got 40% more weight into the program.
And what determined whether or not an area was an area of inequity?
We went through an exercise. A lot of it was based on the census data, socioeconomic data. But then we worked with the growth management department because unfortunately the census data is big tracts. So there were some areas in the county that we already knew were areas of inequity, disadvantaged communities that were not being selected. So with our growth management department, we went through and we selected other areas based on data. Everything was based on data. Cost of building improvements. Economic income. All those went in then, and then we went ahead and mapped these areas, and we truthed it. And we found out that most of the areas that we knew were already, actually all the areas that we knew were areas of disadvantage actually were now included in the map.
Oh, good.
And then that data was put into the program.
I see. It also included, I'm looking at my notes here because I want to make sure I get it right, but you're giving some emphasis to some residential roads, I know, and pavement preservation budgets, and can you talk to us about all those little, I know that ultimately the plan is to come up with an objective process that doesn't think about politics, but thinks about what are the factors that lead up to the determination of when a road gets done. But can you talk a little bit about all the smaller pieces like pavement preservation budgets and those types of things, neighborhood roads?
Okay. The county maintains approximately 700 miles of centerline miles of paved roads. That includes some residential roads. Actually, it includes about 300 miles of residential roads.
Right.
the board decided that we needed to improve some roadways in some residential areas. And they said, okay, we're going to allocate approximately $750,000 a year towards residential area roadways that are in areas of inequity. So using the data that we actually put into the program, we got a list from the program, and based on the condition of the asphalt, what years they should be in.
I see.
So we got that. And then staff, we got that list, and we figured out, for example, in the subdivision of Arredondo, not all the roads were being selected to be worked on the same year.
Right.
And we said, well, we don't want to go back to a subdivision year after year after year. So we went ahead and started grouping the roads by subdivision as much as we could in specific years. So that's the residential program side. And some of those roadways, we're going to go in to either do, let's say, like a little slurry seal. Most people know chip seals.
Right.
So on some of those, we're going to do that. On some of those, we're going to go and actually remove like an inch of asphalt, put another inch of asphalt back. On others, we might just do a little crack sealing and then do an overlay. So, and that's what pavement preservation is. It's not just a straight, let's go remove an inch and put an inch all the time.
Because if you let a road go too long, when you finally get to it, you could be doubling the price.
And
so
that's the problem, unfortunately, Mark, on most of our collector roads.
Right.
Now, there is a road that most of us use very often, Northwest 23rd, and that one, by the way, is coming to the board very soon. We all use that road, and we know the problem that we have on that road.
Right.
So when you don't do maintenance on your roadways, when you're not doing pavement preservation on your roadways, that's the result. Your surface goes south, I'm going to say that, and you have a lot of potholes, and once it gets to a point, a roadway, you just lose the roadway.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like 43rd Street was an example of getting to a road at a good time and doing the resurfacing before you had to do an entire reconstruction.
43rd is an example of when you need to go and do a project so that the road doesn't deteriorate to the point where you're doing a major expense.
Right.
In our program, we have from rejuvenation all the way to reconstructs. Right. And like I was said before, you know, you can actually equate that like to your roof. When you have to do a reconstruct, you're having to remove the asphalt, you're having to do some base work, and that obviously is very expensive and very inconvenient then to the public, because that means that project, instead of just going a few months, could go over a year, and that's what 43rd did. I mean, 43rd was actually fast when you think about it, because there was a lot of traffic on it also.
Right.
But when you're doing projects like on 23rd, we're going to have to get into areas of the base many times to be able to fix it during the project that is coming up.
So I guess we have about what, $200 and something million when you cobble everything together to do this program. And that includes surtax, general fund, gas tax. Can we talk a little bit, you mentioned 23rd, you gave us a sneak peek at a major roadway that's coming up. Can you talk about maybe some of the roads that have already been worked on since the surtax came in, and can we talk about some of the future roads?
Sure. The first road that was done with the surtax was Northeast 27th Avenue in the east side of the county.
Right.
And it's actually, this week, the contractor is finalizing the major work. There's going to be some punch list items to be done in the next few weeks, but this week is being finalized. So that's the first project that we're doing with this funding.
And that's out in the Copeland
That's in the Copeland area, Copeland neighborhood.
Yeah.
There are other projects that the board just recently approved awards, and actually next week they'll be awarding a few contracts, including Northwest 23rd.
And just for those who don't know, that's the road that goes past Santa Fe College and
that's the one, yes.
And has needed work for a while.
For a while, and we get complaints about that road on a daily basis, obviously. We also have other roads that are about to be either bids received or contracts awarded. Southwest 170th Street, for example, which is County Road 241, a section of it. Right. That is going from the Levy County line to the Southwest 134th Avenue. That basically we're doing a milling and resurfacing, and we're actually widening the road. And that's a safety project being funded both by the state, by the infrastructure surtax, but also we also got a grant from the from the state to actually do that project, from the federal government actually. The other project that is about also to be awarded, I believe, this coming Tuesday is the intersection improvements on Northwest 53rd Avenue and Animal Care and Services.
Right.
And that one is not just a driveway, by the way, because we've been told, why are you just doing a driveway? No, we're actually widening the road of 53rd in that case. We're putting turning lanes. And that's a safety project, Mark,
Right.
because if you remember a few years ago, we did have some fatalities in that
I
location.
do remember, yes.
So that's happening now. And then we have approximately 8 other projects that are going to be awarded in the next couple of months, either by the board or just by executing agreements that we already have in place. So we're going to have other projects that are coming in.
Right.
And in 2024, we actually have an additional 57 projects. A lot of them are residential roads, like I mentioned, the subdivision Arredondo. A lot of those are going to be in subdivisions. But that's 57 projects in addition to the other ones that are already have been awarded or being awarded.
Have you totaled the number of projects in this 10-year period that we're talking about?
Yes, I did. And I want to say there were over 360
That's what I thought I read.
projects that are coming in the next, quite frankly, we only have 9 years left now.
Right.
When you think about it, it was approved in November, but we're here we are now in November again. So we're 9 years into, 1 year into the program. It took us some time to get all the ducks in the row, you know. We had to approve the plan first, but now we're pressing the accelerator.
Right.
So the public is going to start seeing a lot of projects out there, and it's really exciting.
It is exciting, and and I've heard you loud and clear that this is not the solution. This is the start down the path to a solution. And I'm sure when this Wild Spaces Public Places issue is done, the board will hope that they've built the trust with the community to extend it and to keep this going.
Yes.
Because as I mentioned in the introduction, there is not sufficient money in the way the state of Florida has set up property taxes to take care of these massive programs. But I want people to understand, Ramon, and the tool that I mentioned earlier, the map. You can go to the county's website, alachuacounty.us. It is a permanent fixture on the front page of our website now, and you can literally go to it. I highly recommend reading the instructions on how to use it. But you can literally zoom in, and you can see a road, and you can see multiple projects on one road. But also in that same link is the spreadsheet that you put together that talks about in detail all 300 of those 300 some projects. But if you don't mind, I'd like to shift gears, because I know another huge part of what directly impacts the public is stormwater and stormwater improvements, and that's also a very large part of what Public Works does. So talk to us a little bit about when the stormwater fee was established and how you're involved in that.
Well, Mark, the Board of County Commissioners, I believe in 2017, established what is called the stormwater assessment. And that's something that goes on your tax bill every year, and you pay it. And 50% of it was dedicated towards stormwater maintenance, which is Public Works end. And then the other 50% is dedicated for water quality, which is handled by the Environmental Protection Department, the county's department.
Right.
So our half goes to operations. Our half goes to maintain that swale, that ditch. But we've also been doing a lot of improvements since 2017, 2018, on what we, in this county, we have been calling legacy flooding areas, for many years.
Right.
As you mentioned, when you I started here working in the county in 2016, in May of 2016, and we had a couple of storms that year, Hermine and Matthew. They were not that big, so we didn't have much. We had some flooding, but not much. But then here came Irma.
Right.
Hurricane Irma was in 2017, and that's when we had a lot of these legacy locations flooded again. Robin Lane, Hills of Santa Fe, Sunningdale, Pine Hills, all the ones, Red Lobster, the ones that we have heard over and over in public meetings.
Yeah.
So the Board of County Commissioners decided that, if we cannot fix the problem, because the fix is tens of millions of dollars.
Right. These are fixing issues that the original developers.
I mean, to fix a problem, you basically have to reconfigure your entire stormwater system and buy a lot of property.
Right.
But we can do something to alleviate the problem. And so the board started after Hurricane Irma. We started implementing a stormwater improvement process of putting permanent pumping stations in some of these areas.
Right.
So we did that. We did that mainly in Robin Lane, Hills and Fayette, Sunnydale, and the board over the years, and it's really not that many years when you think about it, we have actually purchased a lot of pumps, and these are high volume pumps. These are not your little 4-inch pump that you buy at Home Depot.
Doesn't look like the thing on your aquarium.
No, it does not. These are 8 to 10-inch pumps that move millions of gallons if you have them on. And in some of these locations, we actually have 2 pumps now.
Right.
And
these are automatic pumps, right?
Automatic pumps,
yeah.
That's what I'm about to say. We went one step further. We actually put what's called floats. So as the water elevations come up or they go down, the pumps actually in a lot of these locations are going to turn on and off automatically.
Right.
And because of the volume of water that goes to some of these locations are actually getting 2 pumps, high volume pumps, and connected permanently with permanent piping also. Because what we used to do, every time there was a hurricane that's going to come, and all of a sudden, let's say Robin Lane was flooded, staff would have to go there, move in a pump into site,
right.
and put, like in Hills and Fayette, put over 2,000 feet of temporary piping. Then the storm will come, we will get flooded, we will pump, and then we will go there, remove the piping. So what we decided to do is, why are we doing that? Right. Let's put permanent piping in.
Right.
So that's what we did. So in a lot of these locations now, Heatherwood, Robin Lane, Pine Hills, Hills and Fayette, and we're about to go do the same thing in Heatherwood again because we're adding more, and also in Emerald Woods. So we are now have permanent piping in the ground. We have pumps that are permanent, and we're not going to have to spend the staff time that we used to spend setting those pumps. So now that staff time is also going to be available now to actually go clear roadways from debris, for example, after
right.
a major storm.
Right.
So we have the Board of County Commissions have allocated enough funding, and we continue to allocate funding, Mark. For this fiscal year that we just started a month ago, we're buying 4 additional pumps.
Right.
So because we're having to rent pumps or to ask the state for pumps, because we have 14 sites that actually we put pumps every time there's a storm coming.
Yeah.
So now we're going to be buying 4 more pumps. So we're going to have a spare pump plus all the locations. Now we're going to have a county-owned pump, high-volume pump, mostly brand new within the last few years, and then 4 new ones coming in. So we're going to be able to do that. So the response time is going to be definitely a lot less because a lot of these are going to be on automatic switches.
Right.
And the goal is to alleviate the flooding. So instead of having 3 feet of water on a subdivision road, and we might have a few inches.
Right. Hopefully you can still get in and out.
Yes, but the permanent pipes are in, the pumps are in. We're going to do more improvements in this coming year now because of new pumps coming in. And so that's actually also very exciting, just like pavement management, because these are problems that this county has had for many years.
Right, right. Well, you know, I guess it's also challenging. You have the pump and then you have the piping, and I guess it's also a part of the engineering of all this is what do you do with the water you're pumping? Yes,
we are blessed that we have a lot of large retention areas in the county. Some of them are actually owned by Florida Department of Transportation, DOT, and DOT allows us to pump into their system during emergencies. And we have a very good relationship when it comes to that. But yes, there is engineering. There's some areas, unfortunately, where you might not be able to pump anywhere.
Yeah.
Because if you pump uphill, chances are the water's going to come back at you. So.
Yeah. So I think about the other stormwater stuff. Of course, the pumping is the dramatic. You know, I know you can recite these flooding areas in your sleep, but but another part of your funding is for just the general maintenance on swales and stormwater areas.
Yeah. So we have a program. I mean, obviously, we don't have 500 people in Road and Bridge. Our stormwater crew is 11 positions strong. Yeah. So what we do, we have a program. We try to be as instead of reactive, we try to actually be there and try to be cleaning the swales on a program. But we do depend a lot on phone calls that come in.
Right.
So, you know, when we have an obstruction on a culvert, and this could be an obstruction on a culvert that was just on a driveway. But if that driveway culvert is blocked, that water is backed up into the roadways and maybe into another structure. So the program is more than just pumping, as you said. It's actually, we are cleaning the swales. We are improving the drainage systems. You know, when you drive around the county, you're going to see a lot of culverts that might be half full with dirt.
Right.
So we try to go every few years and try to clean those items. Mm-hmm. We have a pumping truck that actually we can pump the dirt out, the silt out. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, we also maintain basins. So, you know, the board actually, county commissioners also allowed us for this year to construct two, they're called wicks, that's the technical term, but quite frankly, it's just a hole in the ground with a lot of filtering media, you know, soils and other things that would still clean the water, because you don't want to put anything bad into the aquifer.
Gotcha.
But we're going to be doing that like in the Ellis Park area. It's going to be wicks going to be constructed to alleviate that. Right. At the same time, we are cleaning basins that, you know, we went through 20, 30 years that these basins were never cleaned. So if your bottom elevation was, let's say, 100, you might have lost a foot or two of retention over the years. So we are going in there and we're cleaning these retention basins, and all that is thanks for the stormwater assessment.
Gotcha. You know, we're almost out of time, but I didn't want to have you here without just acknowledging what you and your incredible staff does when we're in a state of emergency. Obviously, the pumping is a big part of it, but your staff is out there right away. You're filling sandbags, you're reacting to downed trees. The public works staff does amazing work when we're in a state of emergency. I also wanted to acknowledge that you know, you're more than roads and stormwater. Your fleet management, your you know, engineering, surveying. When there's real property being purchased, you're doing development review. I don't think I even know all the things that you do, but you have a really dedicated staff, and they are on the front line when things go bad in the county.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And yes, our staff is very good. We're there before the storm with sandbagging operation, as you think, and we've done improvement on that, by the way. Next time that we get activated, we already have 11,000 bags ready to go. Yeah. Filled.
Nice.
And you know, our goal is to clear roadways within the few hours after the storms come in. Yeah. And to allow emergency movement, you know, fire rescue, they need the roadways to be able to move. So that's, and then just as you mentioned, we do other things, fleet management and other things. Yeah. But what the public see is the big equipment. What we do in the office is the smaller stuff, but it's still, we need to do the smaller stuff to do the big stuff.
Well, I can assure you that those of us who know are very glad that you're here, Ramon, at this time to oversee this really seminal moment in our roads and infrastructure. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Yeah.